All right, so in this video, what we're going to do is take a look at Cinema 4D's newest features. They just had their spring release for both Cinema 4D, Redshift, and other Maxon apps. And so I've updated everything and want to see what we have. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here we have the newest version of Cinema 4D. It says it's 2023.2. And so if you're trying to follow along or find these features in your own version of Cinema 4D, make sure in the Maxon app you have updated both Cinema 4D as well as Redshift. I updated Cinema 4D first, and then when I went to install Redshift, it did say that the version it was going to install from the Maxon app was newer. So definitely keep that in mind. So kind of going in the same order of the video, though I will deviate a little bit. And that video you can find on maxon.net if you want something perhaps a bit quicker. But apparently we have a new commander now that you can pull up with Shift C. That allows you to just kind of type and find more things, find capsules. Perhaps we can find some of the new capsules like the swirl in here, that type of thing. Oh, no results found. So I honestly don't use the commander that much, and so that really doesn't make that much of a difference to me. Another thing that I did find interesting was that we did get some new generators. And if you had gone into the capsules and looked for these, you would have seen them previously. So interesting that I'm not seeing it's because it's not a capsule to thicken. But if you type in swirl, we should see the swirl modifier, and we do. Another one they mentioned that has actually been in here a little bit previously, and I was going to make a video about it, is the backdrop primitive, which I think is really kind of cool and nice. I make these quite a bit for different product shots, videos, that type of thing. And so having one that I can just quickly pull out here, adjust, say, the rounding, the tilt, as well as some of the subdivision options is great. And you can kind of see what's happening here. Since there is an option for the angle here, it's clearly, related to splines going on behind the scenes here in that. Now, since it's kind of a capsule, the end result of one, I don't know if you can actually get inside and see it, but yeah, definitely kind of neat, helpful, and plan on using that a bit. Another thing that they said was new was the new thicken generator. And so I'm curious to see if we can apply this to other objects here. And truth be told, I haven't used a lot of these new features yet because they stick out a little bit more in your user interface. And if you're not familiar with that, typically that means you'll see a little dot by them, like we have thicken. Obviously, it's new, but even symmetry, which has been here for a while, is now something that has something in it that's been updated, though I don't know exactly what. But yeah, that way it's a little bit easier for me to find these things. And you can see it in your menus too. You can see it in your commander. So may have to open up, like the filters and stuff to kind of find those types of things. But yeah, let's see thicken. Can we throw a cube in there? It looks like we can. And you may be going, well, why would you do that? And well, I'm not sure you would want to do that with a solid cube. But since this is a generator, I can now come in here and say, all right, well, if I want the top off this cube to create a little bit of a container, or they gave the example of architectural related things, which I suppose could be helpful. But yeah, now we have something with some thickness here procedurally. Now, honestly, this isn't all that different than the cloth surface generator, which I can never find when I need it. There it is. So it's very similar to this. The difference, I'm guessing, is that we can't add any subdivision surface smoothing like we could in the cloth surface, but otherwise, I take it back. Maybe that's probably just polygons, actually. So yeah, that's polygons. You can see the different options it's creating. I like that we can create a map with that. So we could use a vertex map or perhaps even a polygon selection. So that's actually really kind of helpful and useful for adding some variation in the thickness, which is really nice and allows you to help kind of keep this procedural. So that's really nice to see. They also mentioned Pyro previews, being able to do more with them. So let's just create a capsule, or not a capsule, a torus. Stuck on those capsules, go to simulation, add Pyro, and actually hide the torus here because they said several things were going to have changed in regards to that. And the first thing that seems to have changed is that it now crashes my version of Redshift. Oh, just took a little bit longer to simulate. So not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm getting some weird mouse issues. That's fun. Let's see if we can fix that. Okay, perfect. Not sure what fixed that, but typically with these new releases, they can be a bit buggy. So definitely be careful when updating. I don't recommend updating mid-project now that things seem to be kind of started doing Pyro. It seems to be working pretty well. So they mentioned that the color of Pyro, as well as lights, would now be influenced by or something we could preview. And so let's see, that's color. I don't think that's quite what we had in mind. So let's see, anywhere else we could probably fix that quickly. Not that I'm seeing. I wonder if it's going to be in the volume material. See, that's one of the things they don't always talk about here is, all right, render set to Redshift, how to get some of these things to work. And actually, it did update. I guess maybe I did just have to resimulate it, which absolutely makes sense. Okay, so that's nice. All right, a little bit of green in there. Wonder about lighting. So let's add an area light. And honestly, I haven't really messed around with this type of thing before, so I don't know how different this is. But it is nice that you can. Actually, the shape I want here is a sphere. So area light, where is my there it is. Great. So that's kind of nice. Now, how close to the render this would actually look, I don't know. Let's see if we can find out, hopefully without crashing. Just do a quick viewport render there. Probably should have started my IPR. That was something else they said they changed in Redshift in /Cinema 4D was the ability to render Pyro stuff without having to kind of set it up. Previously, you had to come in here and in the Pyro tag, or actually, I take it back to Pyro output, change these types of things to, I think it was just on in order to have it render without caching. But supposedly they say they fixed that. So let's see if I am able to get that as well. So once again, just kind of doing this as I go. Doesn't seem that way. Oh, there we go. Pyro output. That's what I turned off, which could explain that. I meant to hide the torus actually. But all right, I'm not quite seeing this. I do have a light in there. Pyro material. I thought I could see something for a second, but I think it was just the torus previously. So yeah, I'm not sure what else we have to do with that. I mean, obviously switching those to on, restarting our renderer should work. But okay, so I'll have to come back to that, revisit what we need to do in order to get that, rendering in our IPR. But let's move on. Okay, another thing they mentioned, but I haven't been able to confirm or figure out. This is one of the things I, did it double check. Was they did mention you could use noise in emitters, and from what I was able to see, and max on noise, I'm not seeing that anywhere. Now, I actually haven't done a video on emitters, working with Cinema 4D's standard particle system. But yeah, that's interesting that I'm not seeing it in here at the moment. So, once again, something I'm going to have to dive a little bit deeper into, along with the Voronoi fracture, to see a little bit more about that. They also mentioned that the balloon mode now supports, I don't know why I'm in model mode. The balloon mode now supports vertex maps, which I think would be really fun to experiment with, right? Haven't messed around with this yet, so no idea how this is going to go. Could end up crashing Cinema 4D, hopefully not. But since I know we're going to be messing around with vertex maps, I know I'm going to need additional segments. So for our cube here, simulation, let's just go collider, if I can find that. There we go. Cube, we're going to have, we'll just go straight to the balloon. And now when I hit play, There we go. So, okay. Not quite out what I was expecting with the balloon, but I think the overpressure here is the big part of it. And as you can see, the new section of this is the map as well as stretch influence. Also in surface, supposedly we have something new, but I'm not seeing it. So let's go to balloon. And if we type in overpressure now, we can see it kind of inflate. And so we're taking our cube here and almost turning it into a sphere. All right. And we can use a map. And so what I'll do is create a vertex map by going to other and vertex map. And then deciding to use fields here. And I think I'm going to use a random field to try and just get some random parts that are, going to be able to influence this and maybe go a little bit larger with this. Um, let's see. I'm not really seeing a way to adjust the contrast directly in here like you would if this was a noise texture. So we can see if one of our other noise patterns will work a little bit better. Okay. Now, obviously, the number of polygons is going to make a difference here. Maybe cell. While they're not round, I think that's pretty good. So let's see what we get. In order to really do that, we need to drag that vertex map into there. And we should be able to start to get to see something that resembles that vertex map. Now, we may need quite a few more polygons. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to start by throwing this into a subdivision surface. All right. That will help smooth after the fact. But if we want to smooth before, we'll need to come in here and really crank up these segments. Why don't we go to like 30 each? And as with any time you increase the segments significantly like this, you do run the risk of Cinema 4D crashing, though without the subdivision surface, it's actually not too bad. So we can probably push those a little bit further. Awesome. Turn off that. You can see something's a little bit slower now, a lot slower. And with that, we are getting something that's a lot blobbier with all those additional segments. That's typically what happens with the balloon. You can see it a little bit though. I'm not able to see it nearly as well as they did. I probably would need to go into my project settings and turn down gravity. That way things don't really fall. And that could help us kind of see that a little bit. Yeah. Starting to see it there. Okay, it's actually starting to take off a little bit, move up because there's no gravity. And yeah, I think, I'm a bit surprised we're not getting more definition with that. Why don't we try one other thing? What does the stretch influence do? Does that help with that? Maybe a little, but still maybe more we would need to do with that. Oh, so the stretch time helped a little bit, and you can definitely see it kind of in the early going here. But then, I think it just starts moving around too much. Probably would want to come back in here, lower some of these other settings so it doesn't bend or stretch quite as much. But okay, that's like breaking now, it looks like. Definitely something that once again might require a little bit of a deeper dive into. Now, because the features for Cinema 4D were a little bit underwhelming, I've also decided to include the new features for Redshift in here, at least a couple of the main ones. And there's no bigger one than the node editor. So the node editor, you'll see, looks really different. I actually like it more. Definitely has a lot more contrast to it. And let's see if they color coded the nodes a little bit better. So if I take a texture, put it in there, a noise, and let's see a bump. And now maybe that just gives you the ability to color these a little bit better. But I would have liked to have seen that here. And maybe it's more of the nodes kind of up top mode here where you're creating geometry and animation from nodes. So that's a little bit underwhelming with this. Like I said, I updated Redshift, so it almost makes me wonder if something isn't right here. Because I would have expected the shapes to be different like they had in theirs. But I was fairly certain it was for materials. Let's see, the flakes shader should be in here. Now, what I found really interesting with this was another new feature that they talked about, is that there isn't a way to control the color here, at least a very easy and or straightforward way. I can definitely think of a few ways of doing this, mainly using a ramp for the out normal to kind of colorize it the way you would like. But let's see, I don't think there's a way to make this preview a whole lot larger. So let's just create a sphere and see what type of preview we'll get in our perspective view here. Because if nothing else, it'll allow us to take a look at something else we have. But yeah, you would connect this. I don't know if you would connect this directly to the bump map. I believe since the colors are the same, you can. And you can see in the preview there that we are getting kind of that flakes, dented, kind of look to it. But in the node itself, there's no way to control the color. And so I thought that was interesting that there's not a color mode for you to just connect directly to the base color section here. Though, really, maybe what they would want you to do is use a Fresnel and kind of use that for the color and, kind of get like a lighter red and, oops, I think I got those colors backwards. But something like, yeah, something like that to give this a little bit more of a car paint look. And obviously with a car paint shader, you're probably going to dial this back, have a coating on top, more to it. But that is, the flakes shader. Let's apply it. I did apply it. We're not seeing much there. So that's not a great sign. And just in terms of previewing it, though, I thought, I would have expected a bit more. And okay, and see what that looks like. That's not a bad start, especially for some of the other examples they gave, like a, Christmas ornament, something like that. Obviously, getting some lighting in here will help. Why don't we go with there? Let's see, is that the physical sun and sky system? It's not. It's really what they should be adding under our lights. It's up here instead because they mention, okay, I get that. I also see now why it's not colored, but it would be nice if it was a little bit or could break out that color separately. And they also mentioned a new sun and sky mode here. So it's this PRG clear sky. And supposedly it can do a little bit more realistic stuff with the sun itself. So let's kind of rotate that down so we can see it. It looks a bit small here, but all right, that's kind of interesting. Just to kind of compare it to the other modes we have. Let's see. Okay. So definitely looks a bit more realistic. What type of shadows we'll get from this, that type of thing. We're not really seeing here, though I suppose we could quickly fix that by just adding, say, a plane. And once again, kind of coming in here and working with our sun. And so, I mean, that I guess looks pretty good. Let's see. Yeah, I definitely see an improvement. I don't know if something is weird, but the colors look off on this in the other two modes compared to this one. So I guess that's a good thing that this one looks a lot more natural. But it makes me wonder if they did something to make the others look worse, because I don't recall the other sun and sky modes looking quite this bad. Something else they mentioned was we do have some new Redshift capsule materials in here. So there were some carpet materials. We can see those. Okay, really nice. Let's see what we get with this. Okay, maybe. I mean, obviously it had to download. Not that this is the best example of carpet, but all right, that looks pretty good. Definitely something for a little bit further away, though. That could also just be the resolution I'm working at here. Who knows? And then there was some ceramic materials as well. So if you search ceramic, you will see them there as well. So what? Yeah, okay. Redshift icons disappeared for a second. Made me get a little bit worried. But all right, that's nice. I'm always happy to see more Redshift materials. And I do think it's nice that, I mean, that looks kind of cool, but it definitely needs to be smaller. You can now come in here and search by materials. You can search Redshift, and that way you're only looking at the Redshift materials. What would have been nice, and maybe it's in here and I would just need to see it, is if they did have an example of that flakes shader, since that could be helpful. So let's see if we type in car paint. Okay, we get some, but no Redshift. I think, I'm not sure what this is, so let's download it. Should have just dragged it into my scene. Nope, that's just marble. Okay. So, all right, that might be something else they'll include in the future, but definitely some things to experiment with, and that's never a bad thing. Ultimately, though, I am a little bit underwhelmed with this release. We got Pyro previously, so I was actually hoping for, some kind of liquid simulation, but perhaps they will surprise us with that shortly. But that will do it for this video. If there's anything else you would like to see or one of these new features you would like to see me dive deeper into, please let me know. And until next time, take care.